Wherever you are, if you come across this message, don't scroll past. Stop right here and listen. This is possibly the last message you will hear before everything that has been revealed begins to manifest. If you can hear me, I ask you to please spare a little of your time and watch this to the end. You won't regret it. Rather, you may save yourself and your family from the coming doom. Tell us what part of the world, your country and city, you are watching this experience from. Also, share one of your favorite Bible quotes so we can connect and encourage one another. I will now begin sharing today's experience. My name is James Mitchell. I was a sergeant major in the United States Army. I served for 42 years. It was February 28th, 2026, a Friday, just a regular day. I was still working, still active duty, still preparing for retirement. When I came home that day, something in me needed to talk to people I trusted. I needed to tell someone what was happening to me. I was seeing things that did not make sense. I was having dreams that felt more real than real life. So let me tell you what happened the next morning. I woke up early. I could not sleep anymore. Around 7 in the morning, I got out of bed and walked downstairs. I decided I would go to the store to get some groceries. I was walking down the stairs. I have walked down those stairs 1,000 times. But that day, something happened. My foot slipped. I do not know how. There was nothing on the stairs. They were dry. They were clean. But my foot just went out from under me. It was like gravity suddenly became too strong. I fell backward. I hit the back of my head hard on the edge of a step. The pain was like nothing I had ever felt before. I have been shot before. I have been wounded. But this pain was different. This pain was immediate and all-consuming. I fell all the way down to the bottom. I could feel my body hitting each step. And then I stopped moving. I could feel blood. On my head. On my face. I thought, this is it. This is how I die. Not in battle. Just a stupid accident at home. But then something changed. The pain went away. All of it. The sound of my house disappeared too. All the sounds became quiet. Not silence. Nothing. Like there was no world anymore. And then I realized something. I was standing up. But I was not standing. I was floating. I was above my body. I could see myself at the bottom of the stairs. I could see the blood. I could see my eyes. They were open, but not moving. For a moment, I was afraid. But then the fear went away. I felt calm. I felt peaceful, like whatever was going to happen next was okay. And then I was moving. Moving away from my house. Moving into somewhere else. And then I was there. I cannot describe the place very well with words. But I will try. It was not a room. It was not the sky. It was a place that existed between things. Between the real world and something else. The light was coming from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The air was thick. Not thick like water. But thick like it was full of something. Full of presence. Full of power. I could feel the air on my skin, but I did not have skin anymore. I did not have a body anymore. I was just consciousness floating in a space that did not have walls or ceiling or floor. And then I felt them before I saw them. There were beings there, and I counted them. Exactly 18. 18 angels. I have never been good with numbers. But when I saw them, I knew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Exactly 18. They were standing in a semicircle. They were arranged like they were waiting for me. Each one was holding a flag. Big flags. Flags of different countries. The British flag, the French flag, the French flag, the Chinese flag, the Chinese flag, the German flag, the Japanese flag, the Indian flag, the Brazilian flag. Every major country was represented. Every nation had an angel holding its flag. And I understood something. I understood it without being told. I understood why each angel is there. For some nations, the angel's purpose was to prepare the people, to prepare them for salvation, to get them ready for something that was coming. These angels were there to soften people's hearts, to help people turn toward God, For other nations, the angels' purpose was different. These angels were there to fix their governments, to remove corruption, to bring order, to put good leaders in place, to help those nations find peace. But there was one angel that was different from all the others. This angel was holding the American flag, the flag of my country, the flag that I have served under for 42 years, the flag that I have bled for. And this angel was not like the other angels. The other angels looked peaceful. They looked calm. They looked gentle. They had faces that were kind. They had light coming from them that was soft and warm. But the angel holding the American flag was different, very different. This angel was wearing armor, full battle armor, not the kind from movies, real armor, heavy armor, dark armor, dark armor. Dark like iron that has been exposed to weather and time, dark like metal that has been burned. The armor was covered in marks, dents, scratches, deep gouges, evidence of impact, evidence of battle. This armor had been hit many times, and in some places the armor looked burned, like it had been in intense heat, and then it had been hammered back into shape. But the marks of that hammering were still there. You could see where the metal had been bent and twisted and then straightened out again. You could see the history of this armor. You could see that it had been through many battles, many struggles, many difficulties. The angel's face was different from the other angels too. The other angels had faces that were completely peaceful, but this angel's face was both peaceful and strong. Peaceful in the sense that there was no anger, but strong in the sense that this was a warrior. This was someone who knew how to fight. This was someone who was ready for battle. The angel's eyes were looking directly at me, eyes that had seen much, eyes that understood suffering, eyes that were determined. And I understood why this angel was here. This angel's purpose was to protect America, to guide America, to fight for America, to keep America safe from destruction. Everything about this angel said protection. Everything about this angel said defense. But I did not understand. I was confused because I have been a soldier for 42 years. I know how prepared America is. I know our weapons. I know our training. I know our intelligence. America does not lose. America does not fail. America is ready for any threat. So why would we need a warrior angel? Why would heaven itself be concerned about America if we are already unbeatable? That is what I was thinking. That is what confused me. And then the angel moved. The angel holding the American flag raised his hand. It was a simple gesture, a motion that said, "Come here." It felt like the most important command I had ever received. It felt like this moment was everything. It felt like my whole life had been leading to this moment. I started to move toward the angel, and with every moment that I got closer, something was happening to me. Something was changing inside of me. It was like a transfer, like information was being poured into my mind, like knowledge was being downloaded directly into my brain. And the knowledge came. It came fast. It came clear. It came with absolute certainty. I was seeing the future. I was seeing what was going to happen to America. I was seeing what people needed to know. The angel showed me the number 4 first. 4, 4, 4, written everywhere, on the ground, on the walls, on the buildings, written in blood, written in red. The understanding came immediately. April, the 4th month. This would all happen in April. The chaos would begin in April. The disasters would start in April. April. That is when everything would change. And then the angel began to show me the places. 5 places where people must not go. 5 places where death would come. The angel showed me each one. He showed me in detail. He showed me what would happen. He showed me the danger. He showed me everything I needed to know to warn people. The first place appeared before me. I could see it. It was clear. It was real. It was the assistance sites, the help centers, the distribution points. When the lockdown comes, Everything stops. Food disappears. Water becomes impossible to find. People are desperate. Children are crying from hunger. Mothers cannot give water to their babies. Fathers cannot provide for their families. People are suffering. People are dying slowly. But I saw more than just desperation. The angel showed me how it would unfold. The government declares the lockdown. The borders are sealed. The transportation networks stop working. Trucks cannot move. Trains do not run. Planes do not fly. Everything is frozen. The supply chains that feed the nation, they are broken, completely severed. The food that sits in warehouses cannot reach the stores. The stores cannot distribute to the people. The people have no way to get food. At first, people panic. They go to the stores. They try to buy what they can. They stockpile. They gather. They take everything they can reach. But within days, the stores are empty, completely empty. There is nothing left to buy. The shelves are bare. The aisles are empty. People are standing in long lines with their money, but there is nothing to purchase. The government tries to respond. They announce that they are setting up distribution centers, assistance sites, places where people can go and receive food and water and medicine. The announcement comes through every media channel: television, radio, internet, text messages, emergency broadcasts. The message is clear and repeated. Go to your nearest assistance site. Food and water are being provided. Come and get what you need. And that is when this group appears. Suddenly, like they were waiting, like they planned this. They appear everywhere at the same time. In every city, in every neighborhood, in every town. They set up locations, they build stations, they organize themselves with efficiency, with precision, like they have been training for this. And I understood in the vision that they had been training for this. For years, maybe decades, they have been waiting for this moment. They have been preparing. The stations are impressive. I could see them in the vision. They are clean. They are orderly. They are well organized. There are lines for receiving food, lines for receiving water, lines for receiving medicine, lines for receiving clothing, lines for receiving documents, lines for receiving automation. Everything is systematic. Everything flows smoothly. It is like a well-oiled machine. And they say, we are here to help. We have food, real food, food that people can eat and survive on. We have water, clean water, water that quenches thirst. We have medicine. We have clothing. We have supplies, everything that people need to survive, and we will give it all for free. No cost, no payment. Just come to us and we will help you. The people come. They come in crowds. They are desperate. They are hungry. They are afraid. They bring their children. They bring their elderly parents. They bring their sick family members. They come in huge numbers. Long lines of people. Miles of people. Waiting for help. Waiting for food. And this group welcomes them. They smile. They are kind. They are gentle. They speak with compassion. They seem to genuinely care about people's suffering. They treat people with dignity. They do not rush. They do not judge. They simply help. They give them the food. They give them the water. They give them the supplies. The people take them. They feel grateful. They feel relief. They feel like finally someone cares. Finally someone is helping. In a world where the government has abandoned them, where their neighbors are turning against them, where everything is chaos, these people at the assistance sites seem to be the only ones offering real help. But the angel showed me what I could not see with normal eyes. In the spiritual realm, when the food and water and medicine and supplies were being given, something else was happening simultaneously, something invisible to the normal sight. The items being handed over were being marked. The angel showed me this. Each item had a spiritual mark on it, a binding, an attachment, a connection to something dark. The items look normal. They might look like food packets. They might look like water bottles. They might look like medicine bottles. They might look like documents. They might look like cards. They might look like technology. They might look like they are supposed to help. But the items are not what they appear to be on the surface. I could see it in the spiritual realm. The items are tools. Tools to control. Tools to mark people spiritually. Tools to separate people from God. Tools to bind people to the false master. And the worst part was that the people taking them did not know. They had no idea. They thought they were receiving help. They thought they were saving their families. They thought they were doing the right thing. When people take these items and go home, they think they have been helped. They think they made a smart choice. The problem, they put the food in their pantries. They put the water in their cupboards. They put the medicine in their bathrooms. They feel relieved. They feel like they can breathe. The immediate crisis of hunger is over. Their children will eat tonight. Their elderly parents will have water. They did what they needed to do. But inside them, something begins to change. Something begins to happen to their spirit. I saw people in their homes. They took the items, they consumed the food, they drank the water, they took the medicine, and then their families began to change. Their behavior began to change, not immediately, not all at once, but gradually, over days, over weeks. The changes became more pronounced. Where they should be on their knees praying to God, they instead began to curse God. Where they should be seeking God's face, they instead began to mock God. They began to call God a deceiver. They began to say God is a liar. They began to say God cannot be trusted. They began to work against God. They became enemies of God. I saw families divided, parents who loved God suddenly rejecting God, children who had been raised in faith suddenly turning away from faith, marriages breaking apart because one spouse was turning away from God and the other was trying to hold on, neighbors reporting neighbors, friends betraying friends, families tearing themselves apart. And then I saw something worse. The people who took these items began to come out of their homes. They began to gather in the streets. They began to tell everyone what happened. They began to testify about their new master. They began to point to one specific person, one man, one individual who they said gave them these items. They began to call him their savior. I watched this in the vision. Crowds of people, in every city, in every town, standing in the streets, standing in the squares, calling out about this man, saying this man is their God. This man saved them. This man gave them what they needed. This man is worthy of worship. And everyone began to believe them. Everyone began to follow this man. Everyone began to see him as their savior. People gathered to worship him. People bowed down to him. People gave him their loyalty and their devotion. The angel showed me this man's face, but I cannot describe him. I cannot tell you who he is. I only know that he is not the final deceiver. He is not the Antichrist, but he is a tool. He is sent to prepare the way. He is sent to show people what it looks like to follow a human instead of God. He is sent to make people comfortable with worshiping a person. When the real Antichrist comes, people will already be ready. People will already know how to give their loyalty to someone other than God. But the date for the real Antichrist, the angel did not show me. I do not know when he will come. Maybe years from now. Maybe sooner. I do not know. But I know this man is preparing the way, and the angel told me something without words. He showed me. He revealed to me. You must avoid these places. You must not take the items. You must resist the hunger. You must find another way. You must trust in God. You must pray. You must ask God to help you survive without taking the mark, because if you take it, your soul will be marked. Your spirit will be bound. You will become a slave to the false master, and your family will suffer because of your choice. The vision of the first place faded, but the weight of that warning remained heavy in my consciousness. The second place appeared next. The angels showed me the coasts, the water, the ocean. I could see it in the vision. The coasts of America, East Coast, West Coast, West Coast, all the coastal cities. all the people living near the water. The angel showed me what is coming there, and the scale of it was almost incomprehensible. I saw the sky above the coasts. There was movement, things moving in the sky, fast, silent, coming from far away. And then I understood. They were bombs, aircraft, missiles, coming toward America, and the defense systems, the radar, the missile defense systems that were supposed to stop them. They did not activate. They did not work. Or perhaps they were disabled. The angel did not tell me which. But the attacks came. They came through. I saw explosions, nuclear explosions, massive bombs being dropped into the water, into the oceans, into the rivers, into the water bodies. The explosions were so big, so powerful. The ground shook. The water exploded. The light from the explosions was brighter than the sun. It was blinding. I could feel the heat even in the vision. Intense heat, heat that could burn skin from bone. The explosions created waves, but not ordinary waves. These were tsunamis, walls of water, taller than buildings, taller than mountains, moving with unstoppable force, coming toward the land, coming toward the cities, coming toward the people. The water was moving so fast that I could barely comprehend the speed. Hundreds of miles per hour, faster, more. But the water was not clean. The water was contaminated. The water was radioactive. The water was poisoned. I could see it in the vision. The water glowed with a sickly green light. The water was carrying death. Death in the form of radiation. Death in the form of poison. Death in the form of contamination. The very water that people had loved. The beaches where they had played, the oceans that they had traveled on, all of it was now a weapon, a deadly weapon turned against them. The waves hit the coast, and when they did, entire cities disappeared. Not damaged, not destroyed, disappeared. Gone, swallowed by the poisoned water. Miami disappeared, gone, swallowed by the poisoned water. New York City disappeared, gone, covered by the waves. The buildings that took decades to build, gone in seconds. Los Angeles disappeared. San Francisco disappeared. All the great cities on the coast were destroyed, wiped off the map. Millions of people, thousands of families, millions of lives, gone. Just like that, in seconds, in moments, the waves traveled inland, miles and miles inland. The poison spread. The radiation spread in the air. The radiation spread through the clouds. The radiation came down on the land. The radiation poisoned the soil. The radiation poisoned the water that people were supposed to drink. The radiation poisoned the food that people were supposed to eat. Everything was poisoned, and people who were not killed in the initial waves began to die from the radiation. Slower, more painfully. Radiation sickness is not a quick death. It is a prolonged suffering. Hair falls out, skin peels off. The body becomes covered in lesions and wounds. Blood comes from every opening in the body. The immune system collapses. Infections set in. Diseases that the body would normally fight off become fatal. I saw the aftermath in the vision. Cities that were near the coast but not directly hit. Those cities became wastelands. People got sick. People developed radiation sickness. People lost their hair. People had wounds that would not heal. People vomited. People bled. People died slowly and painfully. The angel showed me hospitals that were overwhelmed. There were more people dying than the hospitals could help. More people dying than doctors could treat. More people dying than medicine could save. The hospitals became places of death, and many people who went to the hospitals hoping to be saved, they died there, surrounded by machines and doctors who could do nothing to stop the radiation poisoning that was killing them from the inside. The angel showed me children suffering, children as young as infants, children who had never done anything to deserve what was happening to them, mothers holding their dying children, fathers unable to help, families separated, communities destroyed, entire regions of the country wiped out, the most beautiful places on the coast gone, the most prosperous cities destroyed, the centers of commerce and culture and life obliterated. and the economic consequences were staggering. The ports that handled international trade, gone. The shipping industries, destroyed. The fishing industries that had fed the nation, wiped out. The tourism that had brought money to the coastal regions, ended. But these were minor concerns compared to the human suffering. The angel showed me people trying to flee inland, families driving away from the coast, cars packed with what few possessions they could grab, long lines of traffic on every highway leading away from the coast. But some made it. Others did not. Some were caught in the radiation. Some were trapped in traffic when the radiation came. Some made it far enough inland to escape the immediate effects, but they were still exposed. They were still poisoned. And the refugees who made it inland brought the contamination with them. Their clothes were contaminated. Their skin was contaminated. Their hair carried radioactive particles, and they spread it, unintentionally, without knowing. They carried the poison inland, to the cities, to the communities, to the farms. The contamination spread far beyond the initial blast zones. The angel revealed to me without words, "You must leave the coast. You must leave before April. You must leave before the lockdown. You must leave and go inland. You must go to higher ground. You must go to higher ground. You must go as far away from the water as you can, because when those bombs fall, there will be no escape. The waves will come. The radiation will spread. Anyone on the coast will die. There is no surviving the coast. There is no escape on the coast. There is no escape on the coast." I understood. The coast was a death zone. Anyone who remained there would die. It was not a question of if. It was a question of when. And the when was April. The third place appeared. The bunkers, the underground shelters, the places where the government has built protection for people. I could see them in the vision. Underground, deep underground, far below the surface, built to be safe, built to protect people from any attack, built with reinforced concrete, built with layers of protection, built with the best engineering that money could buy. They looked impressive. I have seen military bunkers before. During my service, I visited fortified positions. I have been in bunkers that were designed to withstand direct hits from missiles. These civilian bunkers looked similar. They were built with the same level of engineering, the same thickness of walls, the same reinforced doors, the same air filtration systems, the same water and food storage. But in the vision, something was different. The builders had made a fatal error. Or perhaps not an error. Perhaps it was intentional. But in the vision, I could see that the bunkers were not going to save people. They were going to be death traps. And I saw people running into them. When the chaos came, when the attacks began, when the explosions happened, people ran to the bunkers. Families ran to the bunkers. Crowds of people ran to the bunkers. They thought they were running to safety. They thought the bunkers would protect them. They had been assured that the bunkers were safe. They had been told that if they made it to a bunker, they would survive. And the angel showed me what would happen. The doors began to jam. The mechanisms that were supposed to work, they failed. The doors could not open. The doors could not close. People were trapped in the doorways. People were crushed. People were panicking because the doors would not work. Whether the jamming was deliberate or accidental, I could not tell from the vision, but the result was the same. People who were trying to enter the bunkers could not. People who were trying to close the doors could not. The bunkers became tombs at their very entrances, and then the air systems failed. The fans stopped working. The filters became clogged. The air became bad. The air became thick. The air became impossible to breathe. People were suffocating. Children were crying because they could not breathe. Mothers were holding their children. Fathers were helpless. They were in a concrete tomb underground, and there was no air to breathe. The power went out. Complete darkness. The generators did not work. I understood in the vision that the generators had been sabotaged. Or perhaps they had never been maintained properly. Or perhaps they had not been stocked with fuel. But whatever the reason, the backup power systems did not activate. Darkness covered everything. complete and total darkness. People could not see. People could not move. People could not do anything but sit in the dark with thousands of other people. The water systems failed too. The water that was supposed to be clean and safe, it became contaminated. The filtration systems failed. The water became poisoned. Or perhaps the water ran out. But the result was the same. People who thought they had water to drink discovered that they did not. Not clean water. Not water that was safe to drink. The food supplies ran out or became poisoned. People were hungry. People were thirsty. Children were crying from hunger. Mothers had no milk for their babies. Fathers could not provide. They were surrounded by other people, thousands of other people, all of them hungry, all of them thirsty, all of them desperate. And the sanitation systems failed. The toilets could not be used. The waste could not be disposed of. The bunkers became filthy. Disease spread rapidly. Infections spread from person to person. In the dark, in the crowded conditions, sickness spread like wildfire, and people began to die, slowly. In the dark, in the crowded bunkers, surrounded by thousands of other dying people. It was a terrible death, a slow death, worse than any death anyone has ever experienced. People were dying from dehydration. People were dying from starvation. People were dying from disease. People were dying from infection. People were dying from injuries sustained when the doors jammed. People were dying because there was no air to breathe. I could feel the despair. I could sense the hopelessness. These people had done everything right. They had followed the government's instructions. They had gotten to the bunkers. They had done everything they were supposed to do, and it had gotten them killed. People who went to the bunkers thinking they were running to safety. They were actually running to their graves. The angel showed me this. He revealed this to me. I could see it happening. I could feel the terror of the people trapped in the bunkers. I could sense their desperation. I could understand their helplessness. And I understood that this was worse than staying above ground and facing whatever came. And the angel told me without words, do not go to the bunkers. Do not think they will save you. Do not trust the bunkers. They will fail. Every single one will fail. Stay above ground. At least above ground you can see what is coming. At least above ground you can breathe. At least above ground you have a chance to move and escape. Above ground is always better than the bunkers. The fourth place appeared. The stores, the shops, the malls, the commercial centers, Walmart, Target, Costco, grocery stores, every store, every outlet, every place where people can buy things. The foundation of the consumer economy, the places where Americans had always been able to get what they needed. I saw these places in the vision, and I saw what happened to them. They were hit first, not the government buildings, not the military bases, not the airports, not the infrastructure. The stores were hit first. The bombs came down on the stores exploded, the buildings burned, the supplies were destroyed. Everything that would allow people to survive was obliterated. I understood in the vision that this was intentional. This was planned. This was not accidental. The goal was not to defeat the military. The goal was to make it impossible for people to survive on their own. The goal was to create absolute dependency. I saw the destruction in detail. The fires burning so hot that buildings melted, the supplies being turned to ash, the distribution networks being completely destroyed. Trucks carrying supplies were destroyed before they could reach the stores. The supply chains were broken. Every link in the chain was targeted. The manufacturing plants were destroyed. The warehouses were destroyed. The distribution centers were destroyed. The trucks were destroyed. The stores were destroyed. And people inside the stores, when the attacks came, they died. Immediately, violently. There was no escape for them. They thought they were just going to buy groceries. They thought they were doing something simple and normal. Just a regular shopping trip. But death came to the stores. Death in the form of bombs and fire and destruction. The goal was clear. The purpose was obvious. Make sure that people cannot survive on their own. Make sure that the only way to get food is to take the items from the false helpers. Make sure that people have no choice but to take the mark. Make sure that people are completely dependent on the false master for survival. Even if people had money, they could not use it. Even if people had credit cards, they could not buy anything. The stores were gone. The supplies were destroyed. There was no way to buy food or medicine or clothing or anything else that people needed. People who tried to scavenge or steal from the ruins of the stores would find nothing. Nothing to eat, nothing to help them survive. The economy was destroyed. The currency became worthless. There was no trade. There was no commerce. There was nothing to buy and nothing to sell. The entire economic system had collapsed, and people who had been saving money for years, their savings were now worthless. Their investments were now worthless. Their retirement accounts were now worthless. The angel showed me families dying from hunger in the middle of a destroyed country. Families that had been middle class. Families that had been comfortable. Families that had been financially secure. Now they were dying because there was no food. They had money in the bank, but the banks were closed. The ATMs did not work. The electronic money transfer system did not work. Their money could not help them. The angel showed me children with empty bellies. I could see the ribs showing through the skin. I could see the hollow cheeks. I could see the eyes that had lost hope. Children who had never known hunger before. Children who had grown up with food on the table. Now they were starving. The angel showed me the pain of parents who could not feed their children. The anguish, the sense of failure, the helplessness. Parents who would have done anything to feed their children. But there was nothing to do. There was no food. There was no way to get food, and they could only watch as their children suffered. The angel showed me desperation. People eating things that were not food, eating pets, eating plants that were poisonous, eating garbage. People doing things they never thought they would do. Stealing, hurting others, betraying loved ones. All because of hunger. All because of desperation. And the angel told me, do not go to the stores. Do not think you can wait and then run to the store when things get bad. The stores will be destroyed. The supplies will be gone. The food will be ash. The medicine will be dust. Do not go to the stores. The fifth place appeared last. The airports. Every airport, every plane, every landing strip, every place where people try to escape by air. The angel showed me airports across America. Small airports, medium airports, large airports, the busiest airports in the world. Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, New York, Atlanta, all of them. The angel showed me them all. I saw the airports in the vision. And I saw the panic. When the lockdown was declared, people wanted to leave. They wanted to escape the cities. They wanted to get to safety. They wanted to evacuate. So they ran to the airports. Families ran to the airports. Children ran with their parents. The elderly tried to reach the airports. Crowds of desperate people rushed to the airports. The airports were filled with people, packed with humanity. Long lines, crowded terminals, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, all trying to get on a plane, all trying to escape. The airports became chaos. Everyone was trying to do the same thing at the same time. Flights were overbooked. Flights were canceled. People were fighting. People were desperate. They had money. They had tickets. But they wanted to leave before the window closed, before the borders were sealed, before the planes stopped flying. But the angel showed me what would happen to the airports. The attacks on the airports were the worst, the most violent, the most complete destruction. I saw planes on the runways. I saw them being hit by missiles. I saw them exploding, fire and smoke and wreckage, bodies scattered, people screaming, families torn apart, children torn from their parents' arms. I saw the terminals, the buildings where people check in and wait for their flights. The terminals were bombed. The buildings collapsed. People inside were crushed. People waiting in lines were killed. People standing at the gates were incinerated. There was no protection. There was no warning. The attacks came without warning. I saw fuel tanks burning, massive fires, flames so hot that the ground itself seemed to burn. The heat was so intense that it created explosions, secondary explosions, chain reactions, one explosion leading to another and another and another. The fires burned for hours, for days. The smoke rose so high that it could be seen from miles away. I saw the control towers being hit. The air traffic controllers who were trying to manage the chaos were killed. Planes that were in the air had no guidance, no communication with the ground. Some planes crashed into each other. Some planes crashed into buildings. Some planes crashed trying to land on runways that were blocked by debris and fire. I saw people running from the planes, running from the terminals, running from the destruction, but there was nowhere to run. The attacks covered the entire airport. There was no safe place. There was nowhere to hide. People who tried to escape were caught in the destruction. People who tried to help others were killed in the explosions. Chaos and death and destruction everywhere, and I understood something in the vision. The attacks on the airports were not just about destruction. They were about hope. They were about cutting off escape. They were about making people realize that there was no way out. There was no escape by air. There was no way to flee to another state. There was no way to reach another country. People were trapped. The purpose was clear. People would try to escape by air. They would think that if they could just get on a plane and fly away, they could escape the chaos. They could get their families to safety. They could find refuge in another state or another country. They could preserve their lives. But the airports would be destroyed. All of them. Every airport. Every plane. Every possibility of escape by air would be eliminated. The angels showed me international airports being destroyed, cargo planes being destroyed, military planes being destroyed, private planes being destroyed, every plane, every airport, complete destruction, no exceptions. And the ripple effects were enormous. Without air transport, supplies could not be brought in from other parts of the world. Medical supplies could not be flown in. Fuel could not be brought in. Relief aid could not reach the victims. The country was cut off, isolated, trapped. The angel showed me this. He revealed this to me. I could see it. I could feel it. I could understand the desperation of people trying to escape and finding that there was no way out. I could feel the sense of being trapped, the sense of having no options, the sense that escape was impossible. And the angel told me, do not go to the airports. Do not think you can escape that way. There is no escape by plane. The airports will be destroyed. They will be death traps. If you try to escape by air, you will die. There is no other outcome. And then the vision stopped. It was sudden. One moment, I was seeing the destruction of the 5th airport, and the next moment, the visions were gone. The angel was still there. The angel with the American flag and the battle armor, but the visions had ended. I was overwhelmed. I could barely comprehend what I had been shown. The 5 places. The 5 places of death. The 5 places of death. The 5 places that people must avoid. The angel had shown me everything. He had given me the knowledge. He had given me the warning. And now it was my responsibility to tell people. I understood the reason for the warrior armor on the angel. I understood why he was there, to fight for America. Because what is coming is a spiritual battle. It is a battle for souls. It is a battle for the future of the nation. It is a battle between God and the forces of deception. The angel was not fighting with weapons of war. The angel was fighting by revealing the truth, by warning people, by giving them the chance to make the right choice. And the number 4 was still there. April, the 4th month. That is when it would begin. That is when the lockdown would come. That is when the chaos would start. That is when the 5 places would become death traps. April. I did not know how to get back to my body. I did not remember the journey. But suddenly I was there. I was back in my house. I was lying at the bottom of the stairs. I could feel my body. I could feel the pain. I could feel the blood. I opened my eyes and looked around. My house looked the same as it always did. But I was different. Everything was different. I had been shown the future, and now I had to warn people. So that is what I am doing now. That is why I'm telling you this. That is why I'm sharing what I saw. Because people need to know. People need to be ready. People need to turn to God. I am not a preacher. I am a soldier. I have spent my life serving. I have made hard decisions. I have seen difficult things. But I am telling you that God is real. Jesus is real. What I saw was real. And what is coming is real. April is coming. The fourth month is coming. The number 4 is written on the ground. The chaos is coming. The destruction is coming. And you need to be ready. Turn to God now. Today, do not wait. Build your relationship with God while you still have time. Pray. Ask God to show you the truth in what I am telling you. Ask God to prepare your heart. Ask God to give you faith and strength. The angel with the American flag was fighting for the soul of this nation. He is looking for soldiers, not soldiers with guns. Soldiers with faith. Soldiers with prayer. Soldiers who will refuse to take the mark. Soldiers who will serve God no matter what happens. Soldiers who will warn others and help others turn away from the deception. Soldiers who will stand firm when everything around them is falling apart. That is the message. That is the warning. That is the call. God bless you. God bless America, and may God have mercy on us all.